Okay, welcome everyone. Hare Krishna. We will get started. So, uh, yeah,
Can you
now,
increase the brightness?
yeah. Okay, so we'll get started with our session 5. Now, we'll do a brief recap of the previous sessions. So, in our second and third sessions, we saw how there are 3 levels of existence. And what are they?
Gross, subtle,
Gross, subtle, and we, the Atma. Hmm. So the gross body is made of all these 5 senses we have. The body with which we walk around, where we are physically present, that's our gross body. And our subtle body consists of which 3 elements?
mind, intelligence,
And
false
false ego. Yeah. So mind, as we all understand, it's a storehouse of thoughts and desires and memories. What is intelligence then?
ability to grasp things.
Hmm.
Whatever we do is based on our intelligence, right?
Yeah.
To understand someone words or like or to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the modern understanding of intelligence. The Vedic understanding is it's a higher element above the mind or deeper than the mind, and it controls the mind. And this intelligence is the power of discrimination. It gives directions to the mind. Okay, mind, do this. Don't do this. This is not good for you. Do this. This is good for you. So that's the intelligence. And deeper than the intelligence or closest to the soul is the false ego. What is false ego? How do we define false ego? Surya Prabhu, do you remember what is false ego?
Yeah, it's like
Can you speak a little louder?
uh, it is like our characteristics in feelings, like expressing our emotions or something more than that.
Hmm. Yeah, basically, anyone else? Any other answers? It's that element that makes us identify with the material realm. False ego makes the Atma think that, oh, I am a product of this material world. False ego makes the Atma think that, oh, I am this body or I am this mind. So basically, false ego makes the Atma identify with the whole
Gross
material
and
realm of matter. Okay, now next, we saw this chariot of our existence. Our 5 senses can be compared to the 5 horses of this chariot. The rope can be compared to
the gratification,
the mind.
mind,
And who's the chariot driver then? Who gives directions to the rope?
intelligence,
Yes, yeah. And who's the passenger?
false.
Yeah, the passenger is the Atma. In this analogy, there's no representation for the false ego.
Okay.
So, uh, so Lord Krishna gives us confidence in the Bhagavad Gita that knowing yourself to be the controller of all, actually, the passenger and the chariot driver has a lot of authority. He's paying money to the chariot and the chariot driver. So the passenger actually can have his say. He can
Where
just
to
put
go?
his hand on the shoulder of the chariot driver and say, hey, go here. Don't think you can take me anywhere. Hmm? But right now, our current existence is our lower self. We can call our gross and subtle body as our lower self. And we, the Atma, are the higher self. Actually, the gross and subtle body are not the self, but because they are closely, integrally tied up to our existence. So right now, they can be called our lower self. So right now, our lower self is controlling our higher self. The senses have some desires to gratify. The tongue wants to taste something nice. The eyes want to see beautiful forms of nice young ladies and all that. So and so on. So and the senses go in any and every direction, and the mind is happy to fulfill the demands of the senses, and the intelligence also, not being strong enough, the intelligence also goes wherever the mind wants it to go, and the intelligence justifies all the childish activities of the mind. And the intelligence is thus ends up being an accomplice in taking the chariot of our existence in any and every direction. But if this intelligence is sharpened with what? With
Direction. Like with the
what
thought
can
of-
help sharpen this intelligence and make it stronger?
chanting, spirituality.
Yes, yeah. Chanting, spiritual practices, and spiritual knowledge. That can make the intelligence stronger. And so then both the intelligence then becomes a good companion of the Atma. And together, the Atma and the intelligence becomes a part of the higher self. Then. Of course, the intelligence still remains, it's
part
still
of the
it's still a material element, but it becomes more and more spiritualized and closer to the Atma. And then the intelligence works for the interest of the Atma. So, yes, then then the chariot of our existence goes in a wonderful direction. And then in our previous session, we saw external. So this session can be summarized as internals affecting externals. So basically, internally, if we have strong will, a strong spiritual will, the higher self can take charge of the lower self. And then next session, the previous session, we saw how the lower self can also affect our higher self. So, yeah, we saw there are three modes. And what are they called?
Tattva, Rajas, Tamas.
Yes, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And do you remember any characteristics of Sattva Gun, any characteristics of Rajogun, and any qualities of Tamogun? If somebody is very violent in nature, what mode is that?
Tamas.
Tamas, yeah. If somebody is restless in nature or has too many desires or jumps from topic to topic, which mode is that? Rajas, yeah. And somebody is calm, cool, collected. Sattvic, yeah. So that is Sattva Gun. Now, in this world, as we saw in the last session, practically everything around can be divided, classified into these three modes. The inputs we take in. What are the types of inputs we take in?
All five senses.
Through all five senses, yes. We take in food. Food can be classified in three modes. Do you remember food in three modes from the previous session?
I'm not there with you.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. Food can be in three modes. Then what else can be in three modes? Surya Prabhu, do you remember?
Three modes.
Music,
Music can be in three modes, yes. So,
Three modes.
These three modes, there can be violent, tamas music.
Okay,
oh, yeah,
like three
So-
different types.
Yeah.
right.
Music, chords.
Yeah, so these are the three modes of material nature. So, practically all inputs we taken from our surroundings can be classified in these three modes. So, these three modes basically, it's about externals affecting our internals. So, now, whatever inputs we taken can be in three modes, but then when we take those inputs inside, our consciousness also gets situated in that mode. And then whatever comes out, the output we give is also in those three modes. So it's something like this. Suppose there are three different colored syrups, yellow, red, and blue. And we fry gulab jamuns. When they are fried, they are of the same uniform color.
Yeah.
But suppose we dip some of them in the blue syrup, we dip some of them in the red syrup, and some in the yellow syrup. Now, what will happen? After dipping them in for some time, we take those gulab jamuns out from all three. Now, suppose we squeeze out the gulab jamun, we squeeze gulab jamun taken out of the red container, red syrup container, what will come out of it? Which color will come
Red,
out? Red, yeah, naturally. Although originally that gulab jamun was of the same uniform color. But now having come in contact with that red colored syrup, what comes out of that gulab jamun is also red. So similarly, the Atma is pure in nature, but when the Atma takes in either Rajasic, Tamasic or Sattvic inputs, our consciousness, basically our subtle body, gets situated in one of those three modes. And then our responses to the surroundings are also in these three modes. So in our previous session, we saw some of the characteristics of Sattva Gun, some of Rajogun, some of Tamogun. Sattva Gun is roughly translated as the mode of goodness. So good people in this world, they are who are well behaved and well mannered, who are sensitive, caring, kind. Good qualities in this world, they come from Sattva Gun. In Rajas, Rajas is characterized by restlessness, impulsive nature, immediately jumping to conclusions, too many desires, too much passion to do things, over ambitiousness, and so on. This is a sign of Rajas. And now people in Rajas, they may not be destructive in nature. They may work in a they may behave like well civilized men, but their goals are very highly materialistic. Like people in suit and boot, they may be very well behaved and all, but their lives are prominently Rajasic. So, yeah, they may not harm anybody, but they just want to enjoy world. They want to exploit others, though not in very grossly selfish ways. They may not make somebody a slave to exploit them, but yet they want to take out from others as much as possible in a apparently civilized way.
Materialistic desires.
Yes, yeah. And then in tamas, one goes to any extent to fulfill his desires. One may commit a rape, one may commit crimes. So that is deep, deep tamas. In rajas, one may not say somebody who has a lot of sexual desire. In rajogun, he may not commit a rape or anything, but he may have multiple affairs. And he may justify it, say, no, there's mutual agreement between me and that lady. So that is Rajasic logic. But Tamasic logic means by hook or by crook, I want to enjoy. I need to get it. So such a person may even commit rape. Whereas somebody who is in Sattva, even with their own spouse, they are controlled in how they relate. So yeah, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. So what's the hierarchy? Which is the best and which is the worst?
Yeah, Sattva is good.
Yeah, Sattva to Tamas. So now every individual is a combination of, yeah. So yeah, these are some of the characteristics. Do you want to read, Lokesh Prabhu? Sattva is some
Happy,
characteristics.
Happy, balanced, and knowledgeable.
Knowledgeable. They are thoughtful people. Rajas?
Restless, overexertive, workaholic, impulsive.
Yeah, right. And then Tamas?
Tamas, which is ignorance. It is the characteristics are helpless, inactive,
Destructive, mad. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. Now, is any individual completely in one of these three modes? Actually, our personalities are a combination, are a complex combination of these three modes. So just like with three different colors, we can mix them to make unlimited varieties, right? Simply if you take yellow, red, and blue, mix them in one proportion, you'll get one color. But you change the proportions slightly, you get a different color. So similarly, our personalities, our natures are made up of. Now, are we talking about the Atma's nature or the subtle body's nature? Subtle body's nature. The modes can affect the subtle body, not the Atma. The Atma is always pure and aloof from all these, but it can get caught up. It can always escape from this whole entanglement, but currently it is caught up. So yeah. now we are a complex combination of these three modes. And the same person at one point of the day, he may exhibit more of sattva, another point of the day, some tamas, another point of the day, rajas. So as the day progresses, which mode do you think the morning time is in?
Sattva.
Which mode permeates the morning hours? Sattva gun. And then as the day proceeds, during afternoons, rajas, yeah, activity, office, cars, honking, moving around here and there. And then at night,
Tamas, crimes and
drinking,
everything.
bar. Crimes happen mostly what
At
time?
night.
Night or early morning? Night.
Yeah.
Sometimes some criminals may be awake till early morning. For them, early morning is also night and they may commit crimes that time. But early morning is usually in sattva. Yeah. So now here's some exercise. To which of the following do the three modes apply? The inputs we take in, can they be in three modes? The food, the music, then the
We are
sound,
watching.
what we see, the sights we see. Yes,
Yeah.
they can be in three modes. Okay, then what else? Our state of being, can it also be in three modes? Yes, yeah. And do you think the first one naturally progresses into the second one? Any example you remember we just discussed?
Like, if I am consuming the food, like let's say I'm consuming alcohol, then the state of mind will be again the ignorance or like depression.
Yeah.
With
So
tamas,
like
with
whatever
tamas.
we take in, that has been processed. So if we take in negative thoughts, then our state of being will be negative.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, the inputs we take in can be classified in three modes, and then the effect they have on our consciousness, they put our consciousness, our subtle body, our mind, intelligence into a certain state, and those states can also be in three modes. And just like the gulab jamun, initially it is all just fried, it's all uniform, but then what it associates with goes into it and affects that gulab jamun. The gulab jamun soaks in. So similarly, the inputs we take in, they affect our consciousness. And what do you think? Our mode of responding to situations, can it also be in three modes?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So the way we respond to situations, yes, that can also be in three modes. Sattvic people are very nice in the way they
Calm.
respond to situations. Rajasic people, they are
Impulsive.
immediately they get angry, and tamasic people, they may get destructive also, or helpless and totally drunk, and like drunkards, they may react. So yeah, our responses may also be a combination of three modes. So now, yeah. So the three modes, they can be mixed. It's a complex combination. There are so many possibilities, branches. And there's another feature of the three modes, competing, almost like they are competing with each other. Sometimes sattva takes prominence, sometimes rajas, sometimes tamas. So they are almost as if competing. Now, here comes the main point. We discussed this in the previous session. What is Lord Krishna's recommendation with regards to the three modes? What do you think? Do you think Lord Krishna wants us to be in any of the three modes?
Sattva.
Sattva. Okay. Sattva seems to be the most glorious among all three, right? However,
Higher self. We can be above all these three modes. That is more on the materialistic side.
yes.
Again, we need to rise to the spiritual side.
Yes, yeah, wonderful. So, actually, even Sattva Gun is on the material plane. It is the best among the three, but it is still on the material platform. Lord Krishna, in the second chapter, 45th verse, he very emphatically and firmly says, Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna, Nirdvando Nitya Sattvastho, Niryogakshema Atmavan. Traigunya, the three gunas. So rise above these three gunas and rise above them and be situated in what? Nitya Sattva. So Lord Krishna defines another higher mode. It's called Nitya Sattva or Shuddha Sattva. So Lord Krishna is urging that we rise even above mode of goodness and go to Shuddha Sattva or Nitya Sattva. That's the original state of the Atma. So it's something like this. One analogy can make it clearer. So now, after hearing about the three modes, most people may be tempted to conclude that oh, Sattva Guna is the best. So just be a good person in life, be nice to others, don't harm others. That's it. That's all there is to life, isn't it? But do you think there's any flaw in this kind of understanding? Just be nice, do good, be good, do good.
But you're
Don't harm anyone. Do you think that's the highest goal? So yeah, in this world, it's wonderful to be a nice person, but does it mean cosmos has no purpose? So just being nice in this world is something like this. Say there's a driver driving a car,
Yeah.
and he's following all traffic rules and signals, stopping wherever there's a stop sign, right. Stopping at the stop sign, then moving ahead whenever there's green signal, very nicely following all rules. However, when he is asked, but sir, where are you going?
No, that's
And his response is, oh, I don't know where I'm going, but don't disturb me. I'm following all the rules nicely. So, oh, sure, yes. So, yeah. So, welcome, Ranjit Prabhu. Thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for listening.
Okay, so the logic that oh, just be a nice person, do good, be good, do good, don't harm anyone. That's nice, but it's not the highest. So Lord Krishna is urging us to go to the highest platform, and that platform is Shuddha Sattva, Nitya Sattva. Otherwise, if we simply talk about, oh, be a nice person in this world, that's nice. That's better than being violent and being uncultured and so on. But still, that life also, there's no goal. There's another example given. So, Tamogun can be compared to no road at all. Rajogun can be compared to a regular street with some potholes and bumps, there's that. But Sattvagun can be compared to a smooth runway, airport's runway, which is even smoother than highways, because airplanes need a very smooth runway. So Sattvagun can be compared to a smooth runway. Now, can the airplane even move by an inch on a rough, muddy patch of land? No, it just cannot move. The wheels won't move forward. On a regular road with various potholes and all, it may move forward a little. But on a runway, it can move very smoothly. But is the goal of the airplane just to keep running on the runway? The goal is to take off. Yeah. So similarly, Sattvagun is meant to provide us a takeoff platform. Takeoff where? To transcendence. So Sattvagun is in this world, it's the best mode to function at. But it's not the highest goal. It is meant to lead us to something higher. So yes. So now this description is not to criticize Sattvagun in any way or criticize good people, nice people. But it's just that good is good, but if that same good eclipses the best, then that good becomes our enemy actually. Eclipsing meaning just like sometimes, there's solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, something coming in between. So if we take something good and consider it to be the highest, and then that good eclipses something, a higher truth than that, then that good becomes our enemy in some ways. So that's the point here. So Lord Krishna is urging us not to be just complacent with the Sattva Gun, but to rise above Sattva Gun and come to Shuddha Sattva or Nitya Sattva. So that was our previous session. Now coming to our current session. today's session is about karma, nature's reward system, and the art of dying from the art of living. Yeah, living this world. Hmm. Just like there's art of living, there's an art of leaving also, which is very important. So, yeah, now, by the way, what does karma mean to you? Any quick definition of karma? When we speak about karma, what comes to your mind?
Anything we
How
do
you
in
so
this,
socially will kind of
Hmm?
जैसा करोगे वैसे.
anything you do in
जैसे
this
करनी वैसे
materialistic
भरनी,
world,
yeah.
If you give good, you get good.
Hmm. As you sow, so shall you reap.
Yeah.
What goes around comes around. Hmm. Nice, yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, very nicely you have defined. Now, let's go into a deeper understanding of karma and how it's relevant for us. Hmm. So there's this small video, the cycle of screaming. It can even be described in words, and we can save some time on that. So one man screams at his wife, who screams on at somebody else, and then who screams.
Back at him.
Yeah. In fact, okay, it's small actually. We can even watch it. Oh no, I think I lost the link. Hare Krishna, so please come. So, yeah, one man screams at one person who say A screams at B screams at C screams at D screams at E comes back and screams at A.
yeah.
So yeah, A's karma comes back to him. Hmm. That's the video. Hare Krishna. So, please have a seat. Hare
He's my colleague,
Krishna. Oh,
neighbor,
welcome.
not colleague.
Hare Krishna. Nice to
Yes.
have you here. So is it visible to you?
Yeah, yes.
In fact, let me do one thing.
Anything else you want to do?
No, yeah, I think we should be good. Hmm. So our today's topic is karma, nature's reward system, and the art of dying, or the art of leaving from this world. Just like there's art of living, there's the art of leaving as well from this world, which is highly, highly important. Hmm. What's your name, Prabhu?
Vikas.
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 Vikas. Okay, okay. Nice to meet you.
Same here.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Hope you have taken prasad.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Maybe we can close the door. So yeah, there's this video. Somehow I'm unable to locate the link. I think there was a clickable link here. I lost it. So yeah, this shows chain of screaming from some Western series where they also have an understanding of karma. That A screams at B screams at C screams at D screams at E comes back and screams at A. Somehow A's karma came back to him. So yeah, and we saw some sample definitions of karma, what karma means to most people. So now, even in the Western world, karma is actually a Sanskrit word. It comes in Bhagavad Gita, karma yoga, karma kind. But now it's used even in the Western world. So even the Western languages have adopted this word because the word karma means much deeper than just acting. So it also has the reactions of our actions involved. So, and the word karma may mean different in different contexts. So here in our today's session, we are going to see that aspect of karma, which is about the reward system. What we do, we accordingly get reactions for that. But we are going to see deeper aspects of that and how is it relevant to our spiritual journey. We are going to see that. Is everyone able to see this? What's on the screen? Good Karma Cafe, no? Somewhere in one of the Western countries. Could be a European country, or even New York has these kind of buildings. Then, yeah, can someone read this on the second slide?
Welcome to the Karma Cafe. Please be seated. There are no menus. You will be served what you deserve.
I wonder who wrote this. Who would write this outside the restaurant? But yeah, anyways, it's there somewhere. Now, we could have taken case studies where we pass out some sheets with case studies, but in the interest of time, I'll just verbally describe it. So suppose case one, there's a man who has done some good in life and he got some good returns, and then he has also done some bad in life, and yeah, for that he got reaction for that also, something bad came back to him. Okay, it sounds well and fair, right? What he did came back to him. Now let's see case two. There's a man who is very hardworking. He worked very hard to come up with a startup. He had his own ideas. He started a startup. He got a partner, and later on in future, that partner kicked him out. And then this original founder was out of the startup, and the startup became very successful. Nothing came in the hands of this original founder. And yeah, he is lamenting, oh, why is this happening to me? Why do bad things happen to good people? मेरे साथ ही क्यों हुआ? अच्छे लोगों के साथ ही क्यों होता है ऐसे? So he started philosophizing, oh, why like this, why like that? And then, so this is case two. It sounds a little unfair, right? He worked so hard and he was an honest man. Okay, not doing anything wrong in life. But then now let's park this question for some time. It may sound a little unfair. Now let's go to case three. There was a very corrupt politician who did all types of nasty things. Very corrupt. He was involved with lobbying, bribery. He had gotten a few people murdered also, just for his advantage. And then, yeah, so much public money he plundered and put into his own pocket. Politicians do that, right? Very often. And he was doing all that. And until the end of his life, he went unchecked. Nobody caught him. And yeah, he just died in a somewhat peaceful state. His family with him, around him. And yeah, he lived prosperously, and even while dying, he was prosperous. Now, yeah, here what question may come to our mind? Oh, even for such a wrong person, he got good rewards. Why so unfair? Why do good things happen to bad people? Here our question may be reversed. So yeah, it may look unfair. Now, let's put case 2 and case 3 together. What if the person in case 3 was reborn as the person in case 2? What if that politician was reborn as that entrepreneur? What do you think? Now does it make sense? Yeah, now putting them together, it makes sense, right? It's the same person. So, yes, that's how karma works actually. That the reactions we get, either good or bad reactions, may not come immediately. They may come even in our next lives. So now somebody may wonder, oh, but then this doesn't make sense. Why can't we remember what mistakes we made or what good things we did that we are being rewarded for? So the laws of karma, we will see in future slides, but I'll just briefly mention right now. The laws of karma are trying to teach a lesson to living entities to help them improve. The reward system, just like in schools, there is a reward system. In military, there is a reward system. Everywhere there is reward system. In offices, there are bonuses. So don't we see reward system everywhere? So similarly, at the cosmic scale, this is God's reward system. And what is the goal of this reward system? To help living entities improve. But then naturally, this question comes, oh, but unless I remember what I did, for which I'm either being penalized or rewarded, how would I know? How would I improve? How would I learn my lessons? So we'll park that question for some time now, and let's move on. We'll see a few verses from the Bhagavad Gita. These verses talk about the Atma's journey. Now with this, we are also entering into another interesting topic. How we move from one body to another. What determines what body we will get next? So this karma and art of dying, they are closely related topics. So we put them together in one session. Okay, this is one Sanskrit verse from Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, 17th verse. Please repeat after me. We'll go line by line. So this is Balram font. Is it visible to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Please repeat after me. Avinashi tu tad vidhi
Vinashitu tadviddhi,
yena sarvamidam tatam
yena sarvam vidam tatam,
vinasham avyayasyasya
vinasham avyayasya
na kaschit kartumarhasi
na kasyit kartumarham
arhati.
ar-
Would someone like to read the translation? Hari Krishna Prabhu.
that which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul.
So the Atma, the real you, the real me, we saw in second session that our real identity is that we are the Atma. It's not that the Atma is like a battery charging the bodily machine, just like batteries are needed to run some devices. Once the battery runs out, the device stops. So some people's understanding is our existence is composed of this body, and Atma is like some battery charging the body. And when the battery runs out, gone, we are dead. That's the end of our existence. But the Gita stance is no, we are not like a battery charging the body. We are that Atma. It's not that we have an Atma who is making us alive and lively. We are that Atma. Not that there's a world of difference between we have an Atma versus we are the Atma. So what do you think is Gita's stance? We are the Atma or we have the Atma?
We are the
We are the Atma. Yeah. So, yeah, now next verse. This is 2.22. Please repeat after me. We'll go line by line. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya
Vasamsirtirani yata vidhi,
navani grihnati naroparani
navani guptati naroparani,
tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani
tata sharira virani chilani,
anyani samyati navani dehi.
anyani samyati navani tehi.
Vikas Prabhu, do you want to?
As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones.
Thank you. Yeah. So the body is compared to garments which we put on and take out. So now, when we understand the continuation of the soul from one body to another, and the body is just like a garment. We take it out and we put on a new garment. So then we begin to appreciate that, okay, some karmic reactions may come in some future life also. It's something like a credit card statement. Anything that is left over from the previous billing cycle, it gets carried forward to the next billing cycle. So it's not that at the end of one billing cycle, oh, all the history is over. The history continues from one billing cycle to another. So similarly, in the Atma's journey, the karmic baggage that we have, it continues from one body to another. it's not a very difficult thing. It's not rocket science to be able to appreciate this.
Can I ask something? So,
Okay, briefly we can
yeah,
pause here.
so this karmic substance, so this remains with the Atma, basically. And then how it decides where it has to come up again, how it goes to another body, how it decides.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a random process or is it?
Yeah, wonderful question actually. So there are multiple factors involved. There is the main factor being daiva or higher arrangement of God. So yeah, we are going to see one story, but instead of taking it later, let me share it now. There was a hunter who he was cruel by nature, somewhat. So he, what he did is there was a bird couple, and they had around 100 small baby birds. So this hunter, for his own pleasure, for his own adventure, he with his arrows he shot all 100 baby birds. He killed them, and he made those two, the bird couple, blind. And yeah, so it was a very cruel act on his part. Now some reaction has to come to him. So 50 lifetimes later, this same hunter was born as a king who was himself blind, and he had 100 children who got killed in a battle. Do you know which king we may be talking about?
Yeah, Dhritarashtra.
Dhritarashtra. Yes. This comes from Mahabharata. This is in Mahabharata. This is the history of Dhritarashtra. So now 50 lifetimes. Why after 50 lifetimes? We could get it immediately, right? So the reason, I think Vyasdev gives this reason. It took him 50 lifetimes to accumulate sufficient punya to get 100 sons. To have a son needs some punya. To have a healthy child, a healthy son, a healthy child in general, you need some punya. It took him 50 lifetimes to accumulate that punya. And then, yeah, when the right time came, a situation was created where he experiences karma.
But
So, yeah,
sons were
that-
not made mistake, right? He made mistake, but his sons
They
were
have their
special.
own karmic story. Everyone has their own individual karmic story.
Some might
And
agree.
God, yeah, very wonderfully puts all the pieces together. That's the glory of God. So, yeah. Okay, we'll move on and we'll pause again later for questions. Okay. Next verse, just the translation. Do you want to read? Because
As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such change.
Yeah, so in this verse, Krishna is pointing out that, yeah, even in this body, we are changing bodies. We are, our body is completely different from what it was in childhood. All the cells have changed, and even our thought patterns have changed. But yet we still feel like we are the same person. So that same person is the Atma. Oh, by the way, if anyone feels tired sitting for long, you may even sit on the chairs, or you may stand for some time whenever your legs need some stretching. I may also do it occasionally. Okay, yes. So, yeah, so just like so, the soul is changing bodies right now around the soul, this body is also changing. Similarly, there's an event in our journey called death, where we give up this body altogether and take on another body. But then we carry a lot of baggages because those baggages are attached to the subtle body, like karma and so on. The way our thinking has been shaped by the three modes, which we discussed last session. Okay, so it shouldn't come as a big surprise that such a thing happens. Now, how does migration happen from one body to another? Right. Until now, we saw that yes, the Atma does change bodies. But then how does the Atma change the body? What determines what is the next body the Atma will get? So let's see. So here are some. Yeah. No, could someone please read this? Location.
Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail.
So here Lord Krishna is saying, at the moment of death, what you think of, what your consciousness is saturated with, that determines your next destination. You will attain that state without fail. So, and this is natural because if somebody at the moment of death is thinking about, oh, I wish I could eat some flesh. So, by the benevolent arrangement of nature and God's arrangement, such a person will get another body where that desire can continue and can be fulfilled. So, such a person may get the body of some living being who can, lion or tiger that gets to eat a lot of flesh because that's what his consciousness was saturated with. So, what are, and naturally, now does it mean we can just live life any way we want and at the moment of death we'll plan, okay, I'll think about this at the moment of death. And do you think that thought will surely come? No. How we lead our life naturally forms our deepest attachments. And at the moment of death, those deepest attachments will surface. So the art of leaving depends on the art of living. This is the art of leaving from this world. With what consciousness we leave this body? With what consciousness we die? That will determine where we will go next. This is what Lord Krishna is claiming here. And to substantiate this point, let's consider this. In this world, it is a known fact that there are haunted houses. Even people outside the Vedic who don't believe in the Vedic literatures, in Bhagavad Gita and all, who may not believe in any religion at all, like Christianity, or they also do have some idea. There are some haunted places. We should not go there. So even in the Western world, people are aware. Even in this country, there are haunted places. So now what forms those haunted places? So people who had mansions there. So suppose some rich man with a lot of hard work creates a mansion. And while dying, he thinks of that mansion. His consciousness is so attached to that mansion. And naturally, he cannot become the mansion. So usually how this transmigration happens is, suppose there's say a man has deep attachment toward women and he thinks of women at the moment of death or any particular woman, he may get the body of a woman in his next life. We are going to see one fascinating story in this context. A story, a documented story in ISKCON itself. So, a man, a living entity, if while dying, he thinks of another living entity, he may attain that form. We are going to see two stories in this context. However, if somebody is thinking of some object, say my mansion, or I built this mansion with such hard work, he cannot become the mansion. The mansion is a dead object, right? So what does he become?
Ghost.
He hovers around that mansion because he is too deeply attached to it. So that's how many mansions and places, they become haunted like that. So now let's move on. So see, the Bhagavad Gita so scientifically gives answers to so many phenomena we see around. Now, next verse. Okay. Would someone like to read? Dhaval, follow?
The living entity in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to the conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind.
This is from the 15th chapter. So Lord Krishna is saying, all living entities, we the Atmas, we are his parts. He is the Param Atma or the Supreme Atma. We are going to see more about Lord Krishna's position and his glory in some future sessions. So he is the Supreme Atma, the Param Atma, and we are his tiny parts. We are the Anu Atmas. So we are his parts and parcels. So, but Lord Krishna is saying here, in this conditioned world, we are struggling. We are struggling with what? With the six senses, five senses, plus Lord Krishna is calling the mind also as the king of all senses. So in one sense, it is the central point of all senses. Just like this is the central point of all five fingers. These two fingers are not directly connected, but they are connected through this central part. So similarly, eyes and tongue are not directly related, but they are related through the mind. The mind can perceive everything that each of the senses can perceive. So the mind is like the central, pivotal point of all five senses. So Lord Krishna is calling the mind as the sixth sense here. And Lord Krishna is saying we are struggling in this whole network of mind and senses. So, yeah, next verse now. Lokesh, go.
The living entity in the material world carries a different conceptions of life from one body to another. As the air carries aromas, thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another.
Yeah. So now this is the key to understanding how transmigration happens. Different conceptions of life. What does a conception of life mean? Conception of life means what is to be done with life. What according to me is the meaning of life. जीवन के साथ क्या करना है? That is one's conception of life. So for somebody, the conception of life may be, hey man, life is for partying. Let's just party. Hey man, life is for doing this. Life is for eating. There are people who, most people will say, oh, we eat to live. But have you come across anyone who says, I live to eat? Yeah. There are some people, yeah, I live to eat. So yeah, somebody's conception of life would be, oh, life is for eating. So conception of life means जीवन के साथ क्या करना है? What is this life meant for? What is the goal of life? What is the purpose of life? So different people may subjectively define their own purpose of life. Those who are intelligent, they align with what Lord Krishna says, and thus they decide their goal of life and their purpose of life, and they mold their lives accordingly. But most people do not. For them, they have their own idea of what life is meant for. And Lord Krishna is saying here, the living entity carries his conception of life from one body to another. So whatever conception of life one is saturated with when one quits this body, that conception of life will take him to another body. So for somebody, the conception of life may be, hey man, life is for partying. Okay, such a person may get another body where he can continue partying, where he can continue venting out that desire. So, yeah. So Lord Krishna is saying, yeah, thus, yeah, as long as we have these kind of conceptions, we keep moving from one body to another in the cycle of birth and death.
What is the difference between conceptions and karma?
Yeah, we are coming to that difference. So we'll see. There are two Ds involved here. So right now we are studying the topic of the art of dying. And in this context, we will see two Ds. One of the Ds is karma. Yeah. Now next verse.
The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of senses objects.
Yeah. So now the living entity thus taking another gross body. In English, when the word thus comes, it indicates continuation from a previous line of thought. Thus, he went to New York. Why would that thus be included before he went to New York? It means there's a continuation from something previous. Something was explained previously, and then a thus comes, and then as a consequence of that, he went to New York. Similarly, the living entity thus taking another gross body. So that thus means there's a continuation from the previous verse. So based on what does a living entity take another gross body? The conception of life he carries. So the conception of life one has, it forms the template, and around that template, the mind carries his conception of life, and according to that conception of life, nature gives a different body to every living entity. And then, so based on whatever conception of life we had in our past life, that made us take birth in a human male species in a certain background where our desires and our conceptions of life can continue. So now, and what else Krishna is saying? Yeah, this conception of life makes us take another body, and depending on which body we are entering, we develop a particular type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of object, and sense of touch. And these are all grouped about the mind. So around the mind contains all these conceptions of life, and then all these other senses, they take shape, and a new body takes shape in the womb of another new mother. And thus, whatever senses a person gets, he gets a set of sense objects that are desirable for those senses. So in human male bodies, the set of sense objects that are desirable for us, these are 5 senses we have. Sense objects means objects that when brought in contact with the senses give pleasure to the senses. So for a male, what kind of body when brought in a male human, what kind of body when brought in contact with it gives pleasure? A female body, yeah. For a female, what kind of body when brought in contact with it gives pleasure? Male body, yeah. We are discussing the normal case. There are same gender attractions also. We will not go into that. But yeah, so now for a male, female is sense object. The body of a female. It's not that we see females as objects, but yeah, anything when brought in contact with the senses and gives pleasure to the senses, it is called sense object. So for a male flesh, for the flesh of a male, female flesh is what gives it pleasure when brought in contact. So female flesh is a sense object for the male flesh. So similarly, yeah, there's a set of sense objects that is pleasurable, and there's another set of sense objects which is not pleasurable. So for a man, bringing another man in contact with his flesh won't give him pleasure. It may repulse him. Even the thought of touching another male in an amorous way, it's unpleasant, right? For most people. So, but the thought of touching a female may be very pleasant and nice. Worthwhile. Those who, yeah, for most people. So, yeah, depending on desires one had in one's past life, one takes on a new form. So now, based on these verses, yeah, here's one question for you. Can we conclude that we get our bodies based on what we desire? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, Ranjit Pro is saying yes. Anyone else here? Yes or no? No?
Previous birth desires, right?
Yes, yeah. So desires or conception of life, which is basically desires. What is life meant for? What is meant to be done with life? It's a form of, yeah, another way to describe what desires we carry. So the desires we carry give shape to our next body. Just like somebody who may think of eating too much flesh at the moment of death may be awarded a body where that activity can be facilitated. So, yes, is the answer yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Then how will include karma in
Yeah, we are coming to that. So, yeah, so far, based on whatever verses we saw, can we just say this much? That can we conclude that we get our bodies based on what we desire? So, this is a truth, but not the complete truth here. At least partially, do you see that this is a partial truth? Yes. But now we come to the remaining truth that completes the whole picture. Is desire the only factor, or is there another factor?
Another
Should be
Yeah, and what is that?
karma.
Karma. Yeah. Or to put it as another D, deserve.
Deserving.
Deserve, yeah. So based on these two Ds, what we desire and what we deserve, we get our next body. I may desire to become a prime minister or a president, but I should also deserve it, right? So desire is not the only factor. It is an important factor, but not the only factor. There's the factor of deserve also. Now, I may deserve to become a president or a prime minister, but if I don't desire it, again, that will not happen. So it is desire and deserve that completes the whole thing. So it is these two Ds that take us to our next body, what we desire and what we deserve. So we saw the desire part, and what is the deserve part? Karma. So yeah, as we see in this picture, karma happens like almost like a chain. We make one thing fall, that domino effect. Yeah, thank you for that. Even if you if you see in this picture, so perfectly arranged. If he pushes this from one side, what do you think will happen to him?
Last one will fall on that.
The last one will fall on him. So just like the screen of the chain of screaming we discussed. So the last one will come on him. Now, okay, we have some understanding of karma, but why at all does this law of karma exist? Does God have some intention behind creating this law? What is God's intention? Let's see that. Is the law of karma trying to teach us anything? One devotee very beautifully defined the law of karma. He put it as very nice words, which really resonated with me and with my teacher as well. So yeah, we put it in this slide. So the law of karma, from one perspective, it can be called the cosmic sensitivity training. It's a training program to make us sensitive. What does being sensitive mean?
Okay, like moving towards sattva again, like maybe like careful or like caring about others.
Caring about others, yes. A sensitive person understands others' pains.
Thoughtfully take action.
Yeah, is thoughtful about his actions. So a sensitive person, he knows if I make a noise when somebody is sleeping, just like I get disturbed when somebody makes noise when I'm sleeping, others will also get disturbed. So let me not make noise when somebody is sleeping. So who will think like this? A sensitive person. But an insensitive person doesn't think about others. What effect my actions will have on others. An insensitive person doesn't think, but a sensitive person thinks. Now, who is more eligible to make spiritual progress? A sensitive person or an insensitive person? Sensitive person, yeah. Who is more sattvic in nature? A sensitive person or an insensitive person? Sensitive person, yeah. So the laws of karma are training us to be sensitive. And who are they training? Just a few of us? Everyone, cosmically. It's at a cosmic scale. The law of karma works at a cosmic scale. It's not the law of just United States or United Nations. It's a cosmic law. It's not just a law on the earth. wherever there is life in the material realm, this law of karma exists. So it's a cosmic law. And what is the purpose of this law? To make living entities sensitive. Hmm? So basically, the law of karma is asking living entities, okay, suppose a living entity does some bad and he gets a bad reaction. When giving that bad reaction, the laws of karma basically, it's a question to the living entity. When this happens to you, do you like it? No, I don't like it. Then don't do it to others also. And when the laws of karma are rewarding a person for some good he has done, it's like a question to that person. When this happens to you, do you like it? Yes, I like it. Okay, continue doing your good activities. So this is nature's reward system to help living entities become sensitive. That's the purpose of having this law. So it's a perfect law of perfect justice. Here's one case study we can see. Let us all read one paragraph. A tragedy or blessing. Vikas Prabhu, do you want to read the first
Years ago
paragraph?
in Scotland, the Clark family had a dream. Clark and his wife worked and saved, making plans for their 9 children and themselves to travel to United States. It had taken years, but they had finally saved enough money and had gotten passports and reservations for the whole family on a new liner to the United States. The entire family was filled with anticipation and excitement about their new life.
However, 7 days before their departure, a dog bit the youngest son. The doctor sewed up the boy, but hung a yellow sheet on the Clark's front door. Because of the possibility of rabies, they were being quarantined for 14 days. The family's dreams were dashed. They would not be able to make the trip to America as they had planned. Father, filled with disappointment and anger, jumped to the dock to watch the ship leave without the Clark family.
The father shed tears of disappointment and cursed both his son and God for their misfortune. 5 days later, the tragic news spread throughout Scotland. The ship they were supposed to be aboard had sunk, taking hundreds of lives with it. The Clark family was to have been on that ship. To have been on that ship, but because a dog had bitten their son, they were left behind in Scotland.
When Mr. Clark heard the news, he hugged his son and then thanked him for saving the family. He thanked God for saving their family and turning what he had felt was tragedy into a blessing. Although we may not always understand, all things happen for a reason.
Thank you, son, for being bitten by a dog. Thank you, dog, for biting my son. And thank you, God, for, for arranging all this and saving us. Do you know which ship they were supposed to be aboard?
Titan.
Titanic, yes, the famous Titanic. 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago, 1912, this happened. This is a true story, a documented story. I have given a source also here. So, yeah. Now, initially, he thought, oh, what a curse. They had saved so much money to go on that ship journey. So many savings. And in a shot, all the savings were just gone like that with no refund possible. There was no refund system probably that time. So how disappointed he may have been in the beginning. When he heard the news, everything changed, everything flipped. So yeah, by their karma, they were not supposed to be dying on that ship. So yeah, God made arrangements in such a way that they were not touched. Anyways, this is not to say that those who die are less fortunate than those who live. Dying doesn't necessarily make somebody unfortunate. After going through some future sessions, we will realize that a short-lived person's life may be more glorious than a long-lived person's life. Right now, at least, does it sound obvious to you? There were so many great saints whose lives were very short. But what they did was just mind-blowing. Whereas there are people who live long lives, but yeah, useless lives. So, anyways, the purpose of this story isn't to say that this Clark family is more fortunate than those who died. It's just to say that by the laws of karma, by their karma, they were not supposed to be dying on that ship. That's all. Okay. Now, moving on. So it was this ship. Sinking. Okay. Now, here comes one question. Okay. It makes sense that the laws of karma are cosmic sensitivity training, helping us to become sensitive and nice persons eventually. But then somebody may still ask this question, but we don't remember our past lives. Wouldn't it be nice to have some traceable, specific karmic memories? Like, okay, because I did this in my past life, I'm getting this reaction. Yeah, somebody may naturally bring up this question. Wouldn't it be easier for us to digest and learn from our karmic consequences if we could just have specific understanding of why something is happening to us? Okay, I'm getting this penalty for because of doing that in my past life, or I'm getting this reward because I did something nice in my past life, or yeah, whenever I did it. So if there's no memory of that past action because of which I'm getting a reaction, how is the law helpful at all? Does this question make sense? If the law is meant to make us sensitive and a nice person, but the law is not revealing to us what we did in the past, for which we are either being penalized or rewarded. And how does the law make sense? Does this question make sense? Quite an intelligent question, right? Somebody playing devil's advocate may ask this question. In fact, we did not have this slide earlier in this presentation, but somebody actually brought up this question during one of our temple conversations. And after that, we included it because, yeah, we thought this question is natural. It may pop up in somebody's mind. But there is an answer to this question. Okay. Okay, the law still helps. Whether we have specific memory or not, the law is still helpful. Now, suppose we had specific memories, what do you think would happen to our existence? We would be confused. Actually, it is by the benevolent arrangement of God that we forget our past lives. If we had specific memories from our past lives, we would have a confused existence. Am I this or am I that? Am I a male human or am I that female giraffe? Or am I that cockroach in that bathroom? One would be confused if one remembered, had all these specific memories. Now, another point comes here. Nature may take its time to create the favorable context so that the lessons are perfectly administered. The laws of karma are trying to administer some lessons, teach us some lessons. But to create that perfectly favorable situation where the lessons look very relevant, the laws of karma may take time. Like sometime back, you remember, we discussed one story.
James.
James?
No, that was the rebirth.
The rebirth.
No. We are talking about just this session. To Vikas Prabhu's question, we discussed one story, Dhritarashtra story. Yeah. It took 50 lifetimes to create that favorable situation where he could have 100 sons, 100 healthy children who were all killed then. So it took 150 lifetimes for him to accumulate that much punya. So yeah, the laws of karma may take their time. So if for the favorable situation to be created, if it takes so much time, then does it even make sense to carry on memories from so many lifetimes? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So this is one solid reason why, yeah, the laws of karma don't really reveal to us specific memories. Another reason, simple common sense logic. If someone is spiritually immature and is unwilling to improve, even specific memories will not help them. Makes sense, right? They are anyways not willing to learn and they are spiritually immature. So, no, even if specific memories are provided to them, they may not learn. And on the other hand, can you, as a counterpart of this, what
If
can
they
you
are
guess the
spiritually
next point?
matured, they don't need the memories. They know
Yes,
they have to be continuously positive. Like
yes,
their
wonderful.
karma
Thank
should
you. Thank you. Dhruva. If somebody is spiritually mature, even if they don't have specific memories of why something is happening to them, they will learn their lesson. Hmm?
There can be one more point here. Oh,
Yeah.
there one more point I thought was, if like somebody get to know their past history and like if they are not positive in their karma, let's say, and like they'll think that they don't have to do anything good in this lifetime, which
Could
will
be,
be
yeah.
negative.
Okay.
Somebody's gone.
Sure, sure. Yeah. Okay. We'll move on now. Okay. So the laws of karma are perfect laws, administering perfect justice, and they are overall helping at a cosmic scale, helping all living entities become sensitive. Now, now we will discuss some corollaries of karma, and yeah, some very important associated topics associated with karma, and then we will do some case studies also. Okay, so there are two effects of karma. Now, karma, the word karma may mean the actions we perform, or sometimes it may also mean the reactions we get. Say sometimes we may say, no, I'm just getting back my karma. Or sometimes we may say, oh, I did bad karma in the past. So here, karma refers to on this slide, the two effects of karma. Here, karma refers to our action part. So now, when we act, there are two effects of karma: consequences and tendencies. So, here's one example that can make it clearer. Suppose I don't drink at all, but one fine day I decide, okay, let me go and try it out. Some whiskey, brandy, whatever exists out there, alcohol, whatever drinks are there. Let me go and try it out. And I go to some party and drink and fully get drunk and come back. Now, there will be immediate consequences of that. What may happen? I may vomit. People vomit after drinking. Isn't it? I've never drunk, but yeah, I've heard people vomit after drinking. So there are immediate consequences of drinking. But what else? There's something deeper that can happen. More than that. That consequence was just a one-time thing. Maybe next day I vomit. But what else can happen? I'll develop the tendency to drink again and again. So yeah, so far what we saw is our action can have two effects of karma, consequences and tendencies. So suppose I don't drink, but one fine day I decide to drink and I go to some party, get fully drunk and come back. There will be one immediate consequence of that. I may vomit and next day I'll face some consequences, but there's something else at a deeper level that can happen. And what is that? I may develop the tendency to go and drink again and again. Yeah, I drank once, and that experience gets registered internally. It forms a samskar internally. Then it may propel me to do it again and again. So there's a saying: watch your thoughts, they may soon turn into actions. Watch your actions, they may soon turn into habits. Watch your habits, they may soon turn into your character. Watch your character, it will soon turn into your destiny. So yes, if we are careful start beginning with thought level, if we are careful, we can lead a pure life and attain spiritual perfection. But even if not at thought level, it takes more purity to be pure at thought level also. But okay, even if not at thought level, at least at the level of actions, we can try to be pure. So, yeah, there are these two effects of karma. Now, those who are spiritually oriented, now we hear of pap and punya. Okay, we'll first see this slide and then come back to that slide. Please remind me if I don't go back to that slide. If I'm just moving forward, please remind me to come back to this slide. There's one important point here to be discussed. So now there are three types of karma. Let's first discuss these definitions. So karma itself, in Bhagavad Gita, these three words have been defined, and they are both categories of karma. There's karma, vikarma, and akarma. Have you heard of the words pap and punya? What does pap and punya mean? Pap, what is pap?
Harming somebody.
Yeah, basically bad deeds, which come back as bad reactions to us. We have been discussing penalty of the nature or reward of the nature. Yeah. And what is punya? Good deeds.
Reaction of the
Yeah, and we get rewarded for punya. So in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna uses the words karma and vikarma. By karma, Lord Krishna refers to punya, and vikarma is pap. But Lord Krishna also defines another term in the Bhagavad Gita, akarma. What is akarma? Akarma is actions that liberate us from this world. They are above punya. They are above sattva gun also. So actions that are on a spiritual platform, that just free us from this world. Actions like any guesses what could be involved under akarma?
community service.
Community service of what kind? It could be under karma also. If I do material good, I get back material good in return, and that is punya. So community service can be this, but it can be this also. What kind of community service can be under akarma? Spiritual community
Teaching.
service. Yeah, helping people connect with God. Yeah, basically sharing the message of God with others. In fact, Lord Krishna, toward the end of Bhagavad Gita, he says, somebody who shares my message with others becomes very dear to me. There's nobody who can be dearer than such a person. So when we share the message of Bhagavad Gita with others, and sharing just doesn't mean speaking and giving sessions, even calling others. Hare Krishna Prabhu has called 2-3 friends in the past. Today we have Vikas Prabhu. Maybe next session Vikas Prabhu may bring somebody. Lokesh Prabhu may bring somebody. Dhaval Prabhu may bring somebody. Please note that all this is being noted by Lord Krishna and he is appreciating it. So, yes.
How about chanting, Prabhu?
Yes. Yeah. Right now we are discussing one example. Dhaval Prabhu said community service. So yes, that community service where we share spiritual messages with others comes under akarma. And as Ranjit Prabhu pointed out, chanting also. Yes, chanting God's names. It is not an ordinary punya activity. It is a liberating activity. It's on the spiritual platform. Karma is good deeds on the material platform. Good deeds towards somebody's body. When I do good deeds to benefit somebody's body, somebody's temporary self, that is also good. Not the highest though, but it is good. It is on the platform of sattva. So it is beneficial. It is punya. So good deeds come back as rewards at material level. Good material deeds. Whereas good deeds on spiritual platform, which is akarma, they come back as spiritual benefits. They benefit the Atma.
But it has both, right? Actually, karma has both punya and pap. So people who are doing punya, they will get the good deeds to the physical body.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, that's what
It has both, right? Pap also, it's part of karma.
Oh yeah. So the word karma can sometimes be confusing. So top level, we are discussing the word karma. Now this same word karma can be used in the sense of punya also. This rightmost box we are discussing, leftmost box, among the three we are discussing, that is punya. The middle box, vikarma, is pap. And the third, rightmost box, we are discussing akarma, is spiritual deeds. Yeah. So yeah, let's not confuse this top level karma and the leftmost box karma. This is punya, but this karma is karma, deeds.
Yeah.
Hmm? The word karma can sometimes be used interchangeably. Okay, so now having understood these three definitions, let's go back to the previous slide. Now here, as we discussed, any karma we do, it has some consequence and it also registers as samskaras, which leads to further tendencies. Now, for a spiritual practitioner, which do you think he is more focused on? Suppose a spiritual practitioner sometimes makes a mistake. He may be having some bad desires, and sometimes he slips down and makes those mistakes again. So what do you think what is he more afraid of? The consequence or the tendency? Which do you think he'll prioritize more on fixing? Tendencies, yes. Yeah. So in fact, a spiritual practitioner is not afraid of getting some bad reaction. A spiritual practitioner prays like this: my dear Lord Krishna, my dear Lord Ram, if you think I'm worthy of being punished for whatever ghastly or nasty deeds I may have performed in the past, please feel free to punish me. I'm not afraid of punishments. But what I'm afraid of is,
Don't let me do it again.
let me not do all those nasty deeds again and again. This is a very evolved consciousness. He is not afraid of even going to hell, because such a spiritually advanced person knows that even the punishments of God, so-called punishments, they are actually meant for our improvement, our betterment. So rather, the bad consequences that may come, the negative reactions, the sufferings that may come, one is not so afraid of them, but one is afraid of committing those activities again and again. Say, there's one king whose story comes in Srimad Bhagavatam. A great king, grandson of Arjun. What was his name? Does anyone know? Parikshit, yes. So Parikshit, he was a very great devotee of Krishna, but at one point he made a mistake. There was a saint who was sitting in meditation. King Parikshit was in the forest performing some of his kingly duty, and he was on an expedition. He was very thirsty. So he went to this king's ashram, this Rishi's ashram, Shamik Rishi. Shamik Rishi was just sitting in a meditative trance. Shamik Rishi did not even open his eye. He did not even look who has come. Usually, it's a tradition. It's in our culture to welcome any guest. And King Parikshit is not an ordinary personality. As a king, he respected all saints. It's not that he thought, I am the king and I can mistreat anyone. But yet, in this instance, he felt neglected and he thought, oh, this Rishi is probably pretending. Why is he acting like this? This is not the way to behave with any guest. So King Parikshit, with his bow, he lifted a dead snake lying somewhere in the forest area, and he just put it around this Rishi as a garland. He went out. Now, while going back to his kingdom, he realized, what did I do? Oh, I shouldn't have done that. And I usually don't do something like this. Why did I do it at this time? And then, while he was going back, this is what he was thinking. He was praying, my dear Lord, as a result of what I did, let some calamity come upon me. I'm okay with that. But please, please do not let me do this again to any saint. Please do not let me mistreat any saint again. Actually, Parikshit Maharaj, it wasn't his nature to do like this. This was arranged by Lord Krishna. Sometimes the Lord may make some of his devotees make some small mistake, and out of which it will create a big lesson for all living entities. So how was Parikshit Maharaj's response? Very wonderful response his was. So as a consequence of what he did, later on, Shamik Rishi's son came there, who was a childish boy, very young and immature. So that boy saw that, oh, my father has been treated like this by this king. So he heard many abusive words at King Parikshit. Oh, what does he think? These kings, they are like dogs outside our saints' homes, Brahmanas' homes. And then his name was Shringi, young boy, very immature. So he misused his Brahmanical power and he caused the king to die in 7 days. He will die in 7 days from now. And when Shamik Rishi heard what his son did, Shamik Rishi scolded him. Why did you do this? For such a small thing, you gave such a heavy punishment to that great king who is a pure devotee. After he leaves, Kali Yuga will begin. It was King Parikshit who kept Kali Yuga from starting. He held it on. While he was alive, Kali Yuga could not start. He was so powerful and pure. So Shamik Rishi scolded Shringi. You did a very foolish thing. Now let me go and ask for forgiveness from the king. So see, Shamik Rishi is not offended. He saw it as a small thing. But Shringi, he was immature. He misused his Brahmanical power. And it is said from that point on, the Brahmanical class started degrading. Earlier, Brahmanas were very pure, but in Kali Yuga, they became degraded and they started misusing their power. We are higher than others. We can mistreat others. All this began in Kali Yuga. Earlier, they were very pure, Brahmanas of previous ages. So this degradation of Brahmins began from Shringi. Now, why did we come to this story? Parikshit Maharaj's response. What an ideal response. Parikshit Maharaj did not mind being cursed to die also. He was praying, my dear Lord, let any calamity you come. Whatever you think is best for me, let it come upon me. But please let me never do such a thing again. And then when Parikshit Maharaj was informed that he has been cursed to die in 7 days, he happily accepted it. He handed over his kingdom to his son Janmejaya. He retired to the forest. And for continuous 7 days and 7 nights, he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukdev Goswami. And he left his body in a very ideal way. The perfect art of dying. We learn from King Parikshit. So anyways, yeah. Coming back to our slides. So now what decides our destiny? We saw one factor. Karma. Yeah. Karma. In general, karma. It decides our destiny. But is there any other factor?
Deserve and desire.
Deserve and desire, yes. Yeah. That decides our next body. But now,
How about our actions?
yes, that's what I was coming to. So now whatever karma or whatever deeds we have performed in the past, which come back to us as karma, which create a certain situation currently, does it mean we are helpless and from now on we have no choice? No, we still have free will. Okay, fine. Even if my past bad karma has made me crippled or dumb or blind or deaf, whatever. Right now, I have a choice. I have my free will. By the choices I make right now, I can change my destiny. Fine. Whatever has happened right now, because of my past karma, whatever I have received right now, I cannot change it. I may be born with a certain complexion, dark, fair, whatever. I cannot change that. But what choices I make now, by that I can shape my destiny. So you see this picture. What does this picture indicate? The fish, they have been put under certain constraints in that, if you see in the left pot, bowl, glass bowl. So they are restricted. So karma, our past karmas, they create certain situations for us which may be restrictive. But still one can exert one's free will. So this fish, you see, yeah, it has the free will to come out and go into the other pot. So yes, even though there may be constraints and restrictions, we can exert our free will. And the best way to exert our free will is to approach God. Sometimes people make excuses. Oh, my family situation is not favorable to my practicing of Krishna consciousness, my practicing the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Oh, my wife does not support me. Oh, my parents do not support me. Oh, my parents oppose when I come to the temple. Fine, this may be there, but we still have our free will. Yes, there may be opposition, but we can see those oppositions as tests and not get discouraged by those oppositions. And when we still exert our free will to go closer to God, we make tremendous progress. In fact, with obstacles, when we still approach God with determination, we make more spiritual progress than approaching God with no obstacles and no tests. When tests come our way in our spiritual path, and we pass those tests, it's like we become stronger. Just like athletes, when there are hurdles put in between, they become stronger crossing those hurdles. So, yeah, we can write our own autobiography with our free will. The best use of our free will is to approach God. Now, here's one of the last points. We're almost toward the end of the session. What if someone is in trouble and they are in need of help, but they are in trouble because of their own past bad deeds? How should our response be? Should we let them suffer? Oh, it's your bad karma. Or how should our response be?
Whatever we can do
Yeah,
to help.
yeah, we still try to help them. So the idea of karma is not meant to make us callous toward others' suffering. It is meant to help us understand. So the idea of karma we apply on ourselves primarily. More than analyzing others' lives with the understanding of karma, we are meant to analyze our own lives. However, when it comes to others' lives, if they are suffering because of their past bad deeds, it's not that we let them keep suffering. Oh, it's your own past bad karma. Okay, let him suffer. No, we still help them. Because somebody who is spiritually mature, his heart pains seeing others suffering. The greatest suffering, as we will see in future sessions, is people are separated from God. Being away from God is like a fish being out of water. When a fish is taken out of water, no matter what is offered to the fish, nice bhel puri, nice food items, a beautiful female fish, or any amount of money is offered to that fish, can it make that fish happy? No. Similarly, living in forgetfulness of God. In fact, this whole material realm is a place created for those who want to live in forgetfulness of God. This is an advanced topic. We will see it in future sessions. So in one sense, everyone here is suffering, actually. Even the rich people, not just poor people. The rich people are also suffering. Suicides happen among rich people also. In fact, more among rich people than poor people. So it's not that only poor people are suffering. Everyone in this world is suffering. So the best charity, the best help we can give to others is helping them connect with God, helping them re-establish their relationship with God. So anyways, so somebody who is sensitive, at least at a sattvic platform, his heart pains seeing others suffering. And somebody who is above sattva gun in Shuddha Sattva, his heart pains all the more. And his heart reaches out not just to somebody who may have some bodily deformity or externally who may be appearing to suffer. Such a person who is on the platform of Shuddha Sattva or spiritual platform, his heart pains seeing practically everyone. Srila Prabhupada, the founder of ISKCON, when he first came to the United States. Look at his consciousness. See how advanced he was. When he saw young boys, young girls in 1970s, when he came to the United States, when he saw young boys, young girls, sorry, he came in 1965 in the US.
66, right?
66, ISKCON was registered officially. In 1965, he came to the US. So when he first came to the US and he saw young boys, young girls just freely having romantic affairs, going in open cars, kissing and lips to lips and all that. And he saw them doing that. There were tears in his eyes. Tears of what? For an ordinary person may also probably get tears of maybe jealousy. They are doing it. I'm not getting to do it. But what Srila Prabhupada's tears, what do you think were those tears about?
Pain.
Tears of compassion and pain. He saw that, oh, he prayed to God, prayed to Krishna. My dear Lord, they are suffering in forgetfulness of you. And forgetting you, they are doing all these things. They think these things are making them happy.
Hippies.
Hippies, yeah. Yeah, he would cry seeing their piteous condition. And with ordinary vision, we wouldn't see it as suffering, right? But from the spiritual platform, it is suffering. That was his vision of compassion. So anyways, yeah, that was I digressed a bit, going a little into deeper topics, but the main point is, even if somebody is suffering because of their karma, it's not that we let them suffer. The idea of karma is mainly meant to be applied on ourselves. And on others also, we may do case study, like we did Dhritarashtra's case study. But yes, when we see somebody actually suffering, we don't use the thought of karma, the understanding of karma, to justify their suffering and let them continue suffering. We still extend our hand and try to help them. And
So-
among all types of help toward others, the best help is, what is the best help? Spiritual help. By?
Then the spiritual path.
Spiritual and
Yeah, connecting them with God, sharing the message of God with them.
So in this context that you just gave the use case, right?
Hmm.
So when somebody is suffering with their previous karma, whatever the mistake they did in the previous life or this jnana or whatever it is, and they're doing suffering. So when person, whether we are suffering or not, it's a different question. But we realize that we have to help him and try to get him out of the situation, because somebody misfortune might be like you don't have enough money, or somebody may not have something to go for hospital, right? They don't know. So when we give some help, right? So is that like is that good deed, or for general it is good need actually, but we are trying to disturb the others' karmas, right?
So the best thing to do in such a situation is we help them even in that suffering condition, because by doing so, God will notice us also. God will be pleased with our actions also. We are just helping somebody come out of their suffering. But at the same time, now when somebody is suffering because of their own past bad deeds, say somebody doesn't have enough food to eat, so poverty stricken that they hardly get 2 times food, that too with so much difficulty. Yes, we should help them with food, but not just stop there. After that, we should give them more than that. The way to connect with God, with Krishna, that will forever end their suffering. By the way, coming back to our previous slides, I forgot to mention this point. Karma and vikarma, that is pap and punya and pap, they don't cancel each other. If somebody does pap as well as punya, they'll get the reward and the penalty for that separately. But akarma can cancel both. Akarma can cancel pap also. Somebody who has done a lot of pap, by doing akarma, spiritual activity, connecting with God, with the message of God, serving saints, helping spread the message of God. By doing that, the pap can also be washed away by God's grace.
For us, both has to wash away too. get the modes, right?
Yeah. And actually, to exit the cycle of birth and death, even the punya karma has to be washed away. Punya karma, if if it is mixed with desires for enjoying this world, because people with lot of punya may also have lots of desires to enjoy this world, but to enjoy in a nice way. Hmm. So yeah, akarma cancels both pap and punya. It can nullify both, but pap and punya cannot nullify each other. Hmm. So yeah, now when somebody is suffering and we are trying to help them, suppose there's a poor person. Ordinary philanthropy, what can it do? It will only give food to a poor person. But spiritual philanthropy will give food, and not just ordinary food. We give prasad, food offered to God. Whatever is served in the temple, it's prasad. It's not just food. It is prasad. By having prasad, people make spiritual progress, and on top of that, spiritual knowledge is also given. So this spiritual philanthropy can reach out to not just poor people, even rich people. Actually, rich people are also in need of this. So from the spiritual perspective, rich people also who are living in forgetfulness of God, they are poor in one sense. All they have is money. I heard this interesting statement. Some people are so poor, so poor, so poor that all they have is money. Amazing, no? They only have money, nothing else. So yeah. Okay. So if somebody is suffering, we should reach out to them and try to help them. The best help we can give is, so next time we see anybody suffering, either a poor person or rich people don't know they are suffering, but actually they are. But out of their ego, they may not admit I am suffering. So yeah, a poor person, how can we help a poor person in a spiritual way? By giving them prasad. If they are in need of clothes, we may give them clothes also. So this spiritual philanthropy includes material philanthropy also. It includes material social service also, and it goes much beyond that. So we help them with food, clothes, education also. But in education, we will not just teach maths, English. We will teach that also when needed. But we will make sure to include spiritual education also. So that becomes spiritual philanthropy. This wasn't meant to be a part of today's session, but yeah, always good to know a little more. So what is the art of dying then? Okay, maybe we'll take it in the next session. So our session has anyways been quite long. It happens sometimes. Whatever we intend to complete in one session spills over into the next session. Please make sure to come for the next session. We will complete the art of dying with some amazing classic examples. So yes, so far to summarize what we have discussed is, yeah, let's hear from you. Let's try to summarize the session. Then we will open up for Q&A. Okay. How would, yeah, please share some points to summarize today's session. Dhaval Prabhu,
Yeah.
how would you summarize?
So karma, like pap and punya does not cancel out. This was like new finding for me.
Okay.
And one more thing was like you don't need to know what you did in past, but like do good, just do a karma and karma. Keep doing that.
Yeah, right. And in fact, karma also we try to gradually transform into a karma. Basically, punya also, we are anyways doing good deeds. Spiritual deeds are good deeds plus much more. So yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Lokesh?
We did the case study on that King Dhritarashtra, wherein there are three types of karma: karma, akarma, and vikarma.
Vikarma. Yeah.
Akarma is like good deeds and bad deeds. No, karma is good deeds.
Vikarma is?
Akarma cancels out the vikarma thing.
Akarma is spiritual deeds.
Spirituality, like it is the higher self of spirituality.
And vikarma is? Paap.
Vikarma is bad deeds, yeah.
Paap, yeah.
Paap,
Karma is
punya,
punya.
yeah.
Wonderful. Any other points? Hmm,
Let's see.
okay, yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
So one thing, our next life, next gen, whenever we take, so whatever we think is the last minute will be carried away. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Along with the karma that we have done. And the karma will not take effect immediately. So it will wait for the time and build the situation. And it's not revenge, actually, it's a nature of art that will give the lesson to us.
Yeah. The laws of karma are not just taking revenge, as you
Yeah, yeah,
nicely
yeah.
put it. Yeah, it's not for taking revenge, but they are helping
Not
us
to do the same similar mistake because we are the children of the Supreme Lord.
Yes.
So and
Yeah,
I
and-
like the three karmas.
Hmm,
I understand karma very nicely actually. It was good actually. But
Right.
to get into that place, we have to be more spiritual and connect to the God. We have to be more ritual practice.
Hmm,
And whenever somebody is having need, whenever suffering with the karma, we have to help them,
Yeah.
irrespective of the result. Expectation, basically, without any expectation, and also offer food and try to make them to connect with the God.
Right. Yeah, wonderful. Okay. Vikas, Prabhu.
For me, the concept of karma, I guess, was new. So, and the importance of it is in our life is it's very important actually. It's very important.
Right.
And also, it's more importance to have God
To have?
God or Krishna in your life.
Yes.
To be related with that, you can go in that direction, spirituality, much more than doing good thing, bad thing. And that also plays a very important role.
Yes. In fact, you have wonderfully summarized even the conclusion of our previous session. In our previous session, we discussed Sattvagun, Rajogun, Tamogun. Among these three modes, Sattvagun is the highest, the mode of goodness, basically. The more one has Sattva in one's life, one is good in one's thoughts, deeds, and so on. However, Lord Krishna himself urges us in the Bhagavad Gita to rise above Sattvagun also, to go to a higher mode called Shuddha Sattva or Nitya Sattva. So, akarma activities, they are performed on the platform of Nitya Sattva or Shuddha Sattva, on the spiritual platform. So, yeah, you nicely summarized even the conclusion of our previous session. So, thank you for doing that.
To be on this spiritual path, like for example, I'm married and I have a child, I find it a little difficult right now. Even if I want to go, or my wife want to go, maybe this gone, and but right now we have kind of a lot of responsibilities.
Yeah, true. That's natural.
So
In fact,
is it like we can start a little later also, or when we have fulfilled our responsibilities?
Yeah, that's a very nice question you brought up. Naturally, when one gets married, one has kids, the number of responsibilities increase substantially, especially when kids are born. You said you have a kid. How old is your
He's 3.5.
daughter or son?
Son.
Son.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Hare Krishna Prabhu also has a daughter. Yeah. So, yes, naturally, when kids are born, the responsibilities increase, and we should not neglect them for sure. They should be performed nicely. However, our spiritual progress is something we should never delay. The scriptures recommend, because we do not know when we will die. When will our last breath be? Death nowadays comes even in youth.
Yeah.
Many young people just suddenly they die of heart attack. So many people say that, oh, the spirituality and all is for old age. Let's push it up to old age. Right now we are young, let's enjoy. Or let's do whatever activities are meant to be done in the youth. And with this kind of mentality, spirituality is pushed to old age. Basically, it is deprioritized, and all other things are given highest priority. Now, with such a thought process, in fact, some people, yeah, yeah, somebody had even given this kind of a logic. Okay, it's important to remember God at death, right? One of the verses we saw, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, he attains that state. That was Bhagavad Gita 8.6. In Bhagavad Gita 8.5, the very previous verse, Lord Krishna says, whoever remembers me at the time of death comes to me. Now, somebody using that was trying to justify his life, saying, let me do all the things of this world, let me enjoy all the pleasures of this world, and when I'm old, at the moment of death, I'll come to some holy place and I'll shoot myself and I'll chant the name of God and I'll shoot myself. So I get best of both the worlds, right? I'll enjoy life to the full extent, have many affairs, and I'll do all that. And at the end of life, I'll put a gun on my own head and I'll chant the name of God and shoot myself. So I attained both.
What happened to
No.
Conscious.
Now, yeah. Do you think his consciousness will be absorbed in God at the moment of death? Definitely not. So, definitely not. And some people who think like that, even though they may go to some holy place, if their lives have been fully materialistic, somehow, with the excuse of solving some property issue, they may come back to their hometown and they may die there, though they intended to. So basically, one cannot cheat God. Now, we are talking about those who think like that, of trying to go around the laws, and we may cheat government laws, but we cannot go around God's laws. We cannot cheat God. It's much easier to cheat the government, police, and all that, but we cannot cheat God. Now, anyways, your question wasn't about cheating, it was about responsibilities. So yes, responsibilities we do take care of, but connection with God is something so important that it cannot be delayed. If we delay, we may regret later. So it has to be seen with such urgency that any breath could be my last breath. So why delay it? I could be old right now, because what does old age mean? We may look young, but real definition of old age means how close we are to death.
Yeah.
So a baby here, if there was a baby here in this room, that baby may be older than us. If that baby is about to die in a year or two, whereas we may not die in 1 or 2 years. So who is closer to death? We cannot say.
Nobody.
So yes, therefore we take our connection with God with utmost urgency and we don't delay. But then what do we do if we have responsibilities? Should we neglect them? No, we can perform them. But we mold our lives in such a way that we keep God as the center. Okay, fine. We can cut down. Some things are unnecessary in life, right? Is it really required to watch every Friday night new movie release? Can it not be cut down? Can we not replace that with a temple visit or with the chanting of names of God? How much time it takes? Even if we sit for 10 minutes, we are going to do some chanting also now. How much time it takes? Even if we begin little. Okay, in the beginning, we cannot just jump too much. Fine, let's begin a little. Somebody who was giving so many excuses about chanting, his mentor in ISKCON told him, okay, every day just chant 3 mantras. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. How much time it took? Hardly 30 seconds. That mentor gave him freedom to, okay, do at least this much. And he did it nicely. Then he was gradually inspired to increase it. Now that person who in the beginning was giving so many excuses is fully practicing Krishna consciousness very nicely. His life is centered around God. And it doesn't mean one neglects one's family. Yeah, one can be a loving father, a loving husband. In fact, one becomes more loving toward one's family members because we have connected to the ultimate source of love. And our vision becomes mature. We see them not just as my wife, my kid. We see them as, oh, they are God's children. Before me, this wife belongs to God. And even before me, firstly, this child is God's child, then my child. When we offer our love to our family members with this vision, that love is much more purifying and uplifting. And such relationships are even long lasting. And even if in the beginning they may not appreciate us practicing spirituality, they may think, oh, this my husband or my father practicing spirituality is an obstacle in our relationship. They may act like that in the beginning, but we can see it as a test to make us stronger. With such tests, if we still continue pursuing God, we come out successfully. And later on, they'll appreciate it. Oh, they'll be inspired seeing our determination, and they will see that your love for them wasn't affected in any way. It did not reduce in any way. It increased, in fact. When they see that, they'll also take it up. So yes, we can analyze what things in life can be cut down, unnecessary things. We replace them with God conscious activities. And even if we don't find anything that can be cut down, let's at least begin a little bit. Chanting is a very powerful way to connect with God at a daily level. And even if not possible to do it alone, we can do it in a call. In fact, we soon plan to introduce a group chanting call once a week. And then other days of the week, you can do it yourself. So you see, at the end of life, you will realize how much wealth of akarma you have earned by doing that. We may not realize it right now. Once one son came to the US. I think it's a true story. And even if it's not true, there are multiple lessons in it. So the father told his son, whatever money you earn, you keep whatever required for your rent and other things and send me the rest, okay? So the son, he was coming with hopes of enjoying. But since his father asked him to send all the surplus savings, he started doing it. He was earning 5,000 per month or so. He needed 1,000 for himself, for his rent, food and all. And the rest all, 4,000 he was sending to his father. Reluctantly somehow, oh, my father told me, okay, so I'll do it. But internally he had desires for enjoyment, going to this bar, that pub, watching girls dancing and all that. But somehow, because he was sending that money, he did not get an opportunity to do all that. So he worked for 3, 4, 5 years. And then his marriage was decided to some girl in India. He came to India for his marriage. On the day of his marriage, his father wrote him a check. What check? All that money he was sending him, his father wasn't using it for himself. He had kept it in some bank, and with interest, he wrote a check to his son. Take this now. Earlier, you were alone, you could have gone wrong, but now you are married, you'll have kids, you'll be more responsible. So I'm sure you'll use this money nicely. So I'm giving it back to you. So imagine, he was thinking, oh, all this money I'm sending to my father, it will never come back to me in return. He got it all back. Similarly, when we practice spirituality, whether we realize it or not, in the course of doing things, throughout our life, we may not feel it that much. But rest assured, it will come back to us. When Krishna reciprocates with us with his check, you'll be amazed. Oh, I got so much more, more than what I even deserved or expected. God can reciprocate much more than any other father also. God is the supreme father of all living entities. Do you think he'll not notice our karma, our activities to approach him with love? He notices every small action. An ordinary father may not notice every action of ours. The Supreme Father, God, definitely notices. So we can still exert ourselves, exert our free will. Whatever obstacles come, we see them as tests and go around. Let's hear some reflections from
Hare
our
Krishna, Prabhu.
Ranjit Prabhu and Surya Prabhu. Oh, both are still there. Thank you for tolerating me, tolerating this
Prabhu.
long session. Okay, one by one, let's hear from you. Would you like to summarize the session with whatever points stuck with you?
Sure, Prabhu. Can you hear me, Prabhu? Hare Krishna.
Yes. Yeah, very
Yeah,
clearly.
yeah. Yeah, Hare Krishna from Bangalore, Prabhu's. Yeah,
You're missing
yeah,
you here.
yeah. I miss you too, Prabhu. Yeah, I miss the association and the prasadam both.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Prabhu, for today's class. Yeah, and yeah, I joined the class a little bit late, so I'll probably summarize from where I was there. Firstly, I think we generally view karma as a account, statement, account statement, where you do good deeds and bad deeds, and they cancel out. I think it's a lot more clear now. How karma is says karma has more depth to it than just path and punya, and karma, vikarma, and akarma. So yeah, that was good, and as always, it was good to know about what Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita about his take on on karma and desire and deeds. So I think 15.7 and 15.7 or 15.8 and 9, I think he talks about how we get our body based off desires from the past life, and how we use the body to kind of fulfill that those desires. Yeah. Yeah, that one. And I think tendencies, karma has two things, effect and tendencies. It was good to see that. And as always with the visuals, with the fish, in the bowl, where it's not like we are helpless with what we've got. That is, from as a result of our past lives, our actions can, alter the course. So
Yeah,
that is,
that's quite hope giving. Yeah.
yeah, there is something that stuck with me. Yeah. The two Ds, desires and deserving. Yeah, that is that also stuck with me. Yeah, these are some of the reflections. Yeah, that I found for this.
Yeah, right. Two Ds that lead us to our next destination: desire and deserve. Wonderful. Deserve part is the karma.
Karma.
Yeah,
Mhm.
wonderful. Okay, Surya Prabhu, would you like to?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
So,
Krishna.
yeah, so based on the summary, I would like to summarize based on our past actions and performance, and based on our what are all the bad deeds we performed in our past. So, based on that, so we enter into the next soul or the new karma of our entire life. So, so I think based on our thoughts and actions and what we do in our life. So based on that, we are being noticed by our Lord Krishna, and we are being in our karma is based on our actions and based on our good things doing, based on our doing bad things to people. So we live in this life, and for in your future uh, life also it continues. So this is what I get to know from this session, I think. So what we deserve and what we decide. So in the first restaurant cave karma restaurant, in that board itself, what I get to know is that so what we deserve is what we get actually is in that restaurant. So whoever is what else they deserve, they are getting in the plates they get. So that is what I think. So in this session, what I get to know. Thank you. That's it. This is myself.
Now I'll quickly summarize the session and I'll share the screen again and we'll briefly go through all the slides, not slides from the recap, but so karma to most people, the ordinary definition, what goes around comes around. We saw the chain of screaming. We saw these two posters. Then we saw three case studies. Case study one was, somebody did good, got good in return, did bad, got bad in return. But in case study two, somebody was honest, hardworking, but always met with failures. In case study three, somebody was so dishonest and very, sinful, but still he was prosperous. And then when did it make sense? When we understood that the case 2 and case 3 were the same person. Okay, so the laws of karma, when we see the multi-life perspective, they make more sense. Then a natural question comes up, but then why can't we remember our past mistakes or what past good things we did? So we dealt with this question later on. Does anyone remember?
We can't recall it.
Yeah, it's good that we don't have specific memories because we would have confused existence. Another point is, if somebody is spiritually immature, even if they know the past specific karmic memories, why something is happening to them, they'll not learn from it. Whereas on the other hand, somebody who is spiritually mature will learn the lesson, regardless of whether they remember or not. So the laws of karma are perfect in that sense. Then we saw about the Atma's journey from one body to another. We saw a few verses from the Bhagavad Gita. How
Changing the
races. The changing of bodies is like changing of dresses. And then we saw mechanics of transmigration. We saw a few verses. In 8th chapter, verses 5 and 6 are about changing bodies at death. Verse 5 is about attaining spiritual perfection. If we think of God at the moment of death, if we think of Krishna at the moment of death. And verse 6 is a general principle. Whatever we think of, we go to that. In our next session, we are going to see some very fascinating case studies, which were supposed to be discussed in today's session, but since we went longer, we did not. Then we saw these 3 verses from 15th chapter, 15.7, 8, 9. 15.7 was about all living entities being Krishna's parts, but we are struggling in this world with the mind and 5 senses. Then, Krishna says the living entity carries his conception of life. What is a conception of life? One's definition of what life is. One's idea about life. Jivan ke saath kya karna hai? One carries that from one body to another. And then when one moves on to the next body, what he's carrying in his mind, the conceptions, desires, and inclinations, they form his body, his gross body around. So the mind acts like a template on which, the mind acts like a skeleton on which the flesh is created, on which the gross body is created. And then one enjoys a particular set of sense objects. If one gets the body of a male human, for him, the enjoyable sense objects include especially a female human. But for somebody born in a male dog's body, he is not interested in who is Miss World, Miss Universe. He is interested in a bitch. Bitch, right? A female dog. So anyways, so now based on these verses, we concluded that we move on to the next body based on what we desire. But there's another factor also. What is that other D? Deserve. And that is the karma part. So what we do comes back to us. And then we saw that karma is a sensitivity training program, training us to become sensitive and learn lessons. So it's a perfect law with perfect justice. Yeah, we saw this case study. The Clark family, they were not supposed to die on Titanic, so they did not. Somehow they were kept away from hopping onto Titanic. So it's a perfect law with perfect justice. And then now we dived into that question, but why don't we remember the specific memories? And we saw these 4 points. Yeah. We would have confused existence. Nature may take its time to create a favorable situation where the lessons from karma are perfectly administered, and then if somebody is immature, will not learn lessons even with specific memories. Whereas if somebody is mature, will learn the lessons even without specific memories. Then we saw 2 effects of karma: consequences and tendencies. And a spiritually mature person is more concerned about what? Tendencies, yeah. He's okay getting some bad consequence, some penalty or punishment, but he wants to make sure this doesn't happen again and again. So, and then we saw 3 types of karma. Karma, which is punya, vikarma is pap, and akarma is spiritual activities. We will do one spiritual activity now. Then what decides our destiny? Is it just the karmic consequences which have created some constraints around us right now? No, we still have a free will. We can exert our choice and make certain choices in life. So even if our karmic consequences have created an unfavorable situation where we may not get to practice spirituality or akarma, we can still exert our free will. We can, see those as tests. Say family members not supporting us in a spiritual journey and all that. Too much workload at job or workload at home. Fine, all that may be there. But let's not forget, we have our free will. Free will is very powerful. When exerted properly, free will can make a small country win against a big country. Vyasdev, before the Mahabharat war started, Vedvyas, he was in a conversation with King Dhritarashtra. And they were, one topic came up. Dhritarashtra was saying, our army, I think it was Dhritarashtra. I could be wrong. It may have been somebody else. So that other person was making a point. Our army is stronger. Kauravas had actually a bigger army. Yeah, they were at least 1.5 times bigger. 11 versus 7. Yeah, that's correct. So somebody was making this point. Our army is stronger. But Vedvyas, he made this point. Actually, even 50 warriors, if they are in close sync with each other and sufficiently inspired, they can defeat a huge army. Free will is so powerful. With free will, actually, a lot of things can be done. But yet, it's not everything. Free will is there, but an old man, no matter how much he uses his free will to think, oh no, I'm young, still, he is in an old body. That cannot be changed. But yet, being an old man, he can exert his free will in such a way that, those barriers won't affect him that much. So free will is powerful. The best thing we can do with our free will is to approach God, no matter what obstacles be there around us. So we can write our own autobiography, and then we discuss this topic. Even if somebody is suffering because of their karma, let's extend the helping hand. And we stopped here. Next class, we will study these case studies. Okay, thank you so much. In fact, if somebody is yet to have lunch prasad, please feel free to go and have now. I'm available for some more time if there are additional questions, but feel free to get up, go around, use the restroom, drink water. But anybody who wants to have additional discussions, I'm available for some more time. Or first, let's hear from Surya Prabhu or Ranjit Prabhu if they have any additional points or questions, and then we can, anyways, I'll be having lunch after this, then we can discuss. Okay, Surya Prabhu, Ranjit Prabhu, did you have any additional points?
Prabhu, I think some of the examples that stuck for me was the Titanic example about karma. and Parikshit Maharaj's story about putting the dead snake around I forgot the sage's neck, and how he was not afraid of the consequences. Those are some examples that stuck. And I just wanted to ask if you can share the recording, Prabhu. That's it.
Yeah, sure. This session is being recorded. I'll share the recording. And yeah, one easy way to cover up a lot of material in shorter time is playing recordings at a faster rate, like 1.25x, 1.5x. Now, in fact, I have some recordings of these sessions, which I'll share with everyone. And I usually recommend, because I'm a slow speaker, you can play at a faster speed. Yeah, I'll share recordings. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Surya Prabhu, did you have any closing comment or question?
No, I'm good, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, please join us in our next session. The session is not complete yet. Those case studies are just so fascinating. You really don't want to miss them. So, one of them is a modern day case study. You'll be mind blown hearing that. It's a very wonderful story. It substantiates statements of the scriptures. So scriptures are not just saying something random that's not true, not practical. We can see it happening around if we have the eyes to, and if we have the sincere desire to. Okay, so before we end, let's chant a few mantras, just 10 mantras, even if we chant that much. And in your free time, I sincerely urge everyone, please try to chant at least one round every day. One round means 108 beads. If you don't have beads, please make sure to bring from wherever you are. In our temple, we do have beads as well, if you want. Ranjit Prabhu has been chanting regularly, and recently Hari Krishna Prabhu, we had gone to a camp. So in the camp, we were inspired to make further vows, take further steps in our spiritual journey, and chant more. So Hari Krishna Prabhu is chanting 2 rounds every day?
1 round.
1 round minimum. Wow, wonderful.
Without any break.
Wonderful, yeah. So Dhaval Prabhu also, he took beads recently.
Not regular, but I try to do.
Yeah, let's make it regular, and you'll see the check you get at the end of life from the Supreme Father, Krishna. Okay, let's chant 10 mantras right now. In my free time also, I chant 16 rounds, 16 full rounds. I also started with 1 round and then kept on increasing as I was more inspired. Okay, let's chant. Before we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, it's good to chant this Pancha Tattva mantra, which invokes auspiciousness, and we also seek blessings that please bless me so that I can enter into the Hare Krishna mantra fully, offer my full self to God and to Krishna. And if I commit any offenses, please forgive me. So that's the purpose we chant this Pancha Tattva mantra to begin with. Please repeat after me, and then Hare Krishna mantra we'll chant together. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Now let's keep our eyes closed and continue chanting in our mind 3 times, and then we can slowly open our eyes. Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. We'll end the session here, but while we have Prasad, we can continue our conversation. Thank you, Ranjit Prabhu, Surya Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you very much. Prabhu.
Surya
Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna.
hope you feel better soon.
Yeah, thank you. Sure, I'll get
To
better.
see you next week if you feel better by then.
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
And missing you, Ranjit Prabhu. We'll stay in touch over the phone.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. I'll end the call here.